But let's go just a couple minutes down the road and see the contrast to this town with Cottonwood. Again, it's like 800 degrees here right now in the middle of July, so we're gonna have to deal with a little bit of car driving around and all of that. I'll get out and walk around where I can. I'm gonna try to come back when it's a little bit cooler. We're gonna see how this all fits together. Let's make it work. So yeah, let's go down the road and check out the other major town in this area, Cottonwood. This is Cottonwood, Arizona. At first glance, it feels like any other high desert town. Wide roads, chain stores, and traffic rolling through. But this place started much differently. In the late 1800s, travelers camped beneath a stand of cottonwood trees along the Verde River, and that simple campfire stop grew into a settlement. Unlike nearby Clarkdale, which was a tightly controlled company town built by the copper industry, Cottonwood developed on its own, rougher, looser, and far less predictable. By 1908, locals had cut a mule path through the thick brush to form what became Main Street, and quickly filled it with saloons, shops, and boarding houses. This was the independent side of the Verde Valley, and it set the stage for the Old Town district we're about to explore. So do you see what I mean about how Cottonwood is just much larger and much more like a small town than Clarkdale was? I mean, we saw almost the entirety of Clarkdale just checking out the old town. But Cottonwood, obviously, I mean, it has a Walmart. It's got so much more. But before we get to the next part of Cottonwood, I want to talk about this really quick. Because in a way, this is the reason I am interested and familiar at all with this area to begin with. This is the Merkin Vineyards, owned and operated by Maynard James Keenan, who's the singer of Tool and A Perfect Circle and a lesser-known band called Pussifer. I have been a fan. I probably have talked about him at some point in one of my other videos, but I've been a fan of his for, 25 years now. And so I kind of followed him from project to project. But in 2011, they put out an album where in one of the first songs, he talks about the Verde River. And I had no idea what he was talking about. So I looked it up and one thing led to another, and I discovered he is talking about the Verde River here, this place, because he actually lives in Jerome, where the copper mines were. He's lived there for decades now, I believe, and has injected life into the wine industry in this area through his Merkin Vineyards, Caduceus Cellars, etc., etc. But it's because of him that it got me started down this path, and I have been interested in wanting to check out this area ever since. But anyway, I just wanted to explain because I realized I forgot to explain how I know this area, why I care about it as deeply as I do. So this works out great because it is right on the edge of where Old Town starts. Go figure, I came here right when the 2 days that they are paving just the Old Town strip here. But you know what, that's how things go, and we just kind of roll with the punches. So we're going to walk down a section of Old Town here because it best represents the sort of Wild West history and nature and foundation of this town. And then I'm hoping I can sneak over to the Verde River and actually check that out, because what would this trip be doing all this Verde River, Verde Valley stuff and not actually see the river? And so like I mentioned a couple times by now, Cottonwood was much more independent, much more organic, much more Wild West than Clarkdale was. Clarkdale was very organized, very structured, very supervised. Cottonwood over the decade has seen bootleggers during Prohibition, bar fights, saloon fights. It's had a number of small businesses come and go, but always, from my understanding, it seems, had its own identity, separate from the copper company that essentially ran Jerome and Clarkdale. And so this is where people came who may have worked in the smelters, but didn't want to live, like I said, that company town lifestyle. so kind of like when we checked out Sonora in California a couple years ago, you know, this doesn't have quite the same vibe to it, but it definitely, you can still see that Wild West sort of foundation and history. But this little stretch here is like 2-3 blocks long, but it's perfect because I think it gives a great quick little representation of the town and its history, as opposed to just looking at Walmart and gas stations. But it also drops us off right at the trailhead for the Verde River walk. And so I'm fighting against darkness here because I had to wait for it to cool down a little bit, but I'm hoping I can get down there and check out the Verde River before it gets too dark. So Jerome, which we'll look at tomorrow, gonna do a whole walkthrough there tomorrow, that has turned into its own little sort of hippie commune almost. But I'm kind of getting like small little vibes of that here as well, which is super interesting because I hadn't really come across any of that yet. So here we are at the end where they are paving. So they're literally just paving the old town strip here, but it's right here at the trailhead for the Verde River. And I don't think it should be too terribly far. Yeah. So we're here. We just walked down this strip here. Merkin Vineyards are over here. But I'm hoping to kind of sneak in this way, get down to the river. Maybe we can end things down there. I don't think it should be a big walk, but famous last words, maybe. Look, I mean, that's obviously man-made, but see water flowing there. I mean, I think it's only fair to end the section of the videos involving the valley with the thing, basically like the lifeblood of the valley, the thing that makes it and allows it to exist. That lady, and I should have gotten her name back in Clarkdale, talking about the UFO stuff, came completely out of left field. And now I'm super interested. I'm just curious. Never in a million years would I ever think that anyone would claim that Northrop Grumman is running a secret operation underneath the front of a cement plant to build UFO parts, but you never know, I guess. So just, yeah. I managed to keep myself from being intensely hot and sweaty, walking all over creation here. Well, this isn't good. How do I get back over there? I thought there was another trail that went back here, but maybe not. You know what? We're just gonna wander through the woods. Well, this is anticlimactic. Now I'm like, actually, I don't think I'm quite lost yet, but I went 5 feet off a trail and I'm talking about being lost. All right, back on it. All right, we are, let's look at this map. Where are we at here? I don't even know where the heck the river is. I'm just off here in the woods, floating along. The river is up there. I'm nowhere near the river. I'm just walking into nothing. So, never mind. I'm gonna see if I can find, okay. You know what? I'm going back. I'm gonna see if I can find a better way to locate this river. because this ain't it. So much for that plan. All right, I will see you in a minute. So we are now back walking up the old town strip again. I feel like I didn't give that its proper due the first time. Old Town Cottonwood is where the town's character really took root. In the early 1900s, this stretch was lined with saloons, gambling halls, and boarding houses. It was rough around the edges, sometimes rowdy, and it earned Cottonwood a reputation as the biggest little town in Arizona. Unlike Clarkdale, here people could live and work free of company rules. Smelter workers, ranchers, and entrepreneurs all mingled, giving the town an energy that was messy but resilient. Even after the mines and smelters closed, Old Town survived, slowly reinventing itself. Today, the historic buildings house wine bars, galleries, and cafes, but the bones of the Wild West are still here. Walking up this street, you're seeing more than a century of grit and reinvention in action. All right, I cannot figure out how to get down to the Verde River in any sort of reasonable manner before it gets dark. So I think we're gonna have to settle for the next best thing, which is ending this right in front of the location owned and operated by the person who turned me on to the Verde Valley and the Verde River in general, and end it here. Hopefully you have enjoyed this little exploration, checking out the geographically similar but culturally and historically very different towns of Clarkdale and Cottonwood. Tomorrow we're going to be waking up in Jerome. We're at 3,300 feet now. We're going to be at 5,000 feet tomorrow morning. So if you like today's video, do me a favor, thumbs up, comment, subscribe if you want to see more like this, hit that little bell, turn on notifications. Any sort of interaction helps out the channel. I appreciate the support as always. And until next time, so we'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.